And now, for this month's Ambassador Profiles, your chance to hear tips for success from top Visalus leaders. First up, 5-star ambassadors Heather and Allan Guizzino. Where were you before you got into this business? Who introduced you to the challenge, and what made you say yes?
First of all, thank you so much for having us on this call. It is a real honor and privilege to be able to talk to everybody a little bit about Visalus. It's only been, we're going into our 13th month now since we joined, and it has been so exciting. Prior to Visalus, the only real job that I've ever had, I didn't graduate from college. In fact, I barely went to college. But the only job I ever had was as a flight attendant. And I did that for about 8 years. I absolutely loved the flexibility. I loved being my own boss. But what I didn't like was the income. I made very little money. And, I worked hard. I don't mind the hard work, but I just thought at some point I was going to need to find something where I could make a greater income. Allan's background is very different from mine. He was an executive in the corporate world. In fact, when we met, he had just been promoted to a CEO position for a Fortune 200 healthcare company. So he made a really comfortable living. And so, as far as network marketing, I got introduced to network marketing about 17 years ago and thought it was the smartest way to make money ever because it gave me what I was looking for. It gave me the flexibility, and it was an unlimited amount of pay. You basically get paid what you're worth, and depending on how much you're willing to work and how hard you're willing to work, you can become very, very wealthy in this industry. Allan, on the other hand, always thought that network marketing or direct sales in general was just kind of a hokey business, kind of a corny business. And for the last 9 years, I've been with one specific company. Allan has been a big supporter of mine, but has never, ever participated in anything that I did. It wasn't until Visalus came along that really, really caught his attention. And, we both took a look at it together. I think there were different aspects that appealed to each of us. Being the mother of 3, I've gained a few pounds every year for the last, 10, 12 years. And so the thought of getting in shape and finding something where I could actually lose weight without feeling like I was on some type of stringent diet program, that definitely appealed to me. I love the idea of the 90-day challenge, as did Allan. I think he'll talk to you a little bit more about the business side that appealed to him. From a networking standpoint, I just thought the compensation plan seemed super lucrative, super fair, and I have to tell you, especially everybody that's listening, one of the strongest things for me to join was the fact that the people that were sharing this with us, it was Mike and LaVon Craig, they had a huge commitment to Visalus. They made it very clear that they weren't going anywhere. They were going to be with this company forever. They were going to hold our hands. They were going to give us as much or as little support as we requested and needed, and that was huge in my decision-making process. So I know when I go to share Visalus with somebody, I want to be that same person. I want people to know that we're going to be there, that we're serious about this business, and that we're going to be, very serious, strong business partners for them to build a business with.
What attracted you to Visalus and the Body by Vi Challenge?
Well, when we first heard about the 90-day challenge, I think the perspective that I was looking at it from was really the business perspective. And, my background being in health insurance, I understand the huge, huge issue that our country faces right now. And that issue really is cost. Healthcare costs are going through the roof. There's enough data out there right now that is telling us that the American lifestyle, people are stressed, people are on the run, they're not eating well, they don't have time to eat well. These are creating huge, huge long-term health implications, as well as near-term health implications for a lot of folks. People are malnourished, people are fighting obesity, and we knew that this was a very, very big problem. Now, the other thing from a business perspective that we know, in this country, whenever there is a big problem, historically, whenever there has been a big problem in this country, someone or some company has stepped forward with a solution to that problem. The bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity for that company that had the solution to it. So when we saw Visalus, we realized, wow, this is a huge, huge problem, one of the biggest problems that we face as a country, and somebody is going to fix this. And that somebody could potentially be Visalus. Now, in most corporations, it would be the company benefiting, the corporate profits or the shareholders of that company benefiting. But here in our model with Visalus, I realized very, very quickly that the independent distributor could be the one to benefit from this opportunity, creating a solution not only for America, but more importantly for every single individual within America. So we were very, very excited about that, very, very excited about the potential opportunity. Now, when we looked at the company itself, there were a few things that right away really hit me. Number one, the mainstream message. It resonated. It made sense. I could see where it made sense not only for me and for Heather, but it also was going to make sense for just about anyone who saw that. So we love the mainstream message. The second thing that we liked, that I really, really liked, is the fact that this company, Visalus, was backed by a publicly traded company. And really there were two things that I really, really liked about that. The first thing was this company was growing very, very quickly when we looked at it a year ago, April of 2011, and we looked at the growth projections, we realized it was going to continue to grow very, very quickly. And in order for a company to be able to do that, they had to have access to capital and capital to scale the business. So we felt good about the fact they were backed by Blythe. The other thing I really liked about that was there was full transparency on the revenues and the earnings of the company, and that meant a lot to me from a business perspective. The third thing I really liked was the technology platform. Everyone involved in the company knows that that technology platform is incredible. I've worked for some large corporations, and I got to tell you, this is some of the best technology that I've ever seen and I've ever used. And that was actually surprising to me, and it was a pleasant surprise. And I tell you, it's been unbelievable how well we've been able to manage our business with that technology platform. And then the last thing that we saw, of course, were the young, dynamic, very intelligent, and very innovative leaders. These guys were straight focused. They knew what they were going to do. They knew how they were going to do it, and they brought passion and energy with that. So we thought, gosh, you know what? All of the stars are aligning here. It's the right solution at the right time, led by the right people, and for us it really was a no-brainer once we took time to really look at all aspects of the company and the opportunity.
What were the largest struggles when you were first getting started?
First of all, I think everybody has struggles. I mean, we all think that they're bigger than the next person. You know, it's funny. People, I think, fall into one of three groups. They either have a lot of extra time, but they just don't have any money to do anything with that time, or they've got extra money, but they're just so busy they have absolutely no time. And then, of course, the worst group would be no money and no time. And I've been there before. When we looked at Visalus, we really fell into the second group, which was we had some additional income because of Allan's job and because I had a successful business, but we were just so busy. We had no time. And so we could have used that as the perfect excuse why not to join Visalus, but instead we kind of turned it around and made that the reason why we needed to more than ever. Just to give you guys a little bit of background on, what we were facing, just life in general. Again, everybody on this call probably has a job. Most people do. Allan's was the kind where you're at work by 8, you get home maybe like at between 6 or 7 at night, and you're still not done. There's emails to be done. There's work to be done on the weekends. So he had a very, very full-time job. While I certainly didn't have a paying job, I still believe I have a job. Our kids are at the ages now where they're in 3 different schools with 3 different start times and 3 different pickup times, and then just because of their spread out ages, 12, 9, and 4, we're all across the board with activities: football, cheerleading, youth group, church, soccer, dancing. Literally, we're just busy people. And then Allan's parents, we're here in Florida. His parents are up in Chicago, so we don't have the luxury of having grandparents to help out. My parents have passed away. So, we could use all of these as excuses. Really, time would have been the biggest thing for us. But what I've found out is that if whatever you're wanting to do, if it's important enough, you'll figure out and find the time to do it. So I guess the bottom line is, our why, we figured out why we needed this to work. We figured out that if we started making an extra $5,000 a month, how it would change our lives. If we started making an extra $25,000 a month, how that would greatly change our lives. And then, $50,000 a month, et cetera, et cetera. So we really focused on why we needed this to work, and we pushed harder than anything I've ever done in my life. I will tell you, in 12 months, we have become 5-star ambassadors, which is an absolute dream. Our income last month was more than double what I used to make in a year as a flight attendant. So, I mean, just to put it in perspective, and it continues to grow. So absolutely, was it worth it? You bet. But it certainly was, it was a lot of work. And so, I tell people, you can either make excuses or you can make money, but you can't make both. So we all got struggles. We just have to figure out why it is we need this to work and make sure it's important enough. Just to recap for us, we probably made more phone calls than most people, and that's the only thing that has set us apart. We're no different than anybody else. We just wanted it, worse than a lot of people, I guess. In the second day, we had shared this with enough people and helped them go director that we qualified for the BMW. In 45 days, we hit ambassador because of an amazing team of hardworking people that we love dearly. 15 people were in cars by the 45th day. And then, ambassadors just started breaking again with just a lot of hard work and commitment and focus. And I'm thrilled. This is the best thing that's ever happened.
What are the most common mistakes you see new Body by Vibe promoters run into?
I'd have to say, as far as, common mistakes that we see new Visalus promoters running into, there really are two of them. I'd say, the two things that I see really tie back to overcomplicating things and not following the system. And I'm probably a good person to speak on this subject because I'm probably the epitome of that when I first started. If it wasn't for the fact that we had a very, very good upline, someone that could throw me a rope when I fell into that pitfall and get me out of it very quickly and dust me off and say, hey, let's talk about what just happened, I could have been in trouble. So that was definitely something that I had done. I think there's two reasons for that, really. When you think about it, number one, a lot of people, regardless to what degree or, at what point in their life, a lot of people have been exposed to sales in some form or fashion. And when you come into this business, those people that have sales experience, like myself, we tend to want to rely on all of that experience that has gotten us where we are today in traditional business. And one of those things happens to be our ability to really understand our product. See, we kind of grew up thinking that knowledge is power. And the more knowledge that we have, the more confident we are when we talk about things or share things. Well, that is so counterintuitive to the way that this works. And that was something that we learned from our upline. And we began to see it also within our own organization. Those people that did what I did initially, that spent a lot of time trying to research the products and understand the different kits and the nutritional components of those kits, we wanted to know everything. We weren't better off than everybody else on our team. We actually were worse off because we tended to want to sell everything rather than letting the tools do the selling, all of these wonderful things that we have that the company has put together, success magazines and challenge kits and YouTube videos. We wanted to be the one to go out and talk all about that. And that's just overwhelming to prospects, again, and we learned that very, very quickly. Contrast that to folks that didn't take that approach. Rather than spending a significant amount of time trying to research every product detail, the people that were really having success spent the same amount of time mastering the process, mastering the getting started training, reviewing the GST, reviewing, Blake Mallon doing the GST in the back office, and really understanding how we effectively promote. Those folks learned very, very quickly. It's a matter of sharing a couple of key points, getting people interested in the 90-day challenge, and letting the tools do the work. So that's pitfall number one. I would tell people listening to this, absolutely get engaged with the system. Make sure you follow that, guys. It absolutely works. The second thing is, what a lot of us want to do is we want to be selling people into this business, okay, actually selling them, convincing them, persuading them, and again, it just doesn't work that way. You know, we've grown up in sales, those of us who have been in sales, thinking we need to sell people into this business. Well, the one thing that we've seen, I've personally experienced it myself, the way that I started promoting the business, and I've also seen other folks in our business struggle with this, is they get out and they'll sell or convince 2 or 3 people to get in. Well, what happens is we've got this great system that we can use that's very simple and very duplicatable. When we don't use that, even if you are a very, very successful salesperson, you may be able to sell 3 or 4 people into the business, but now their point of reference of how they need to promote is you. And they may not be the salesperson that you are. So we have good salespeople who have sold, 3 or 4 ESS packages, and they've sold it, they haven't followed the system, and they can't figure out why a month later they still only have 3 or 4 people in their business. While the person next to them, again, followed our system, simply shared information following the Getting Started training exactly as it was outlined, and they're having twice the success because they brought in just as many people that first month, but in that second month their business duplicated because the people that they brought into the business, again, looking upline, looking at the person that brought them in, that's their point of reference, those people followed the Getting Started training, and their business begins to duplicate. So I would say, definitely as far as things to avoid, and of course the inverse of that are things that you should absolutely do, are to keep it simple so it's duplicatable, follow our Getting Started training.
Thank you again for having us. I just want to say that, the hard work has really paid off. I hope you guys have gotten some really good things out of this message today. And, where we are now, 12 months later, Allan has now quit his job. So we are 2 full-time stay-at-home parents with 3 young kids that, for the first time in our lives, in our 13-year marriage, we've got this summer with no obligations. We're going to go travel the country. We're going to work with our team. We're going to show our kids some of the world, and we couldn't be more blessed. Visalus is awesome.